7-seaters are an absolute must-have for loads of drivers up and down the UK. Now, of course, they bring that 7-seater versatility that people with larger families or larger groups of people need, but they also bring the spaciousness and large boots that are there to cater for big runs to the tip, or even just trips to the airport where you require loads of space for luggage and other goods. Now today we're going to be looking at 3 different types of 7-seaters. We've got the Land Rover Discovery, the Volvo XC90 and the Hyundai Santa Fe, which all operate at different areas of the market. But what do they offer and what can they bring to the table that is different between each one? Against the more traditional designs of the Volvo and the Land Rover, the Hyundai's look is far more futuristic, but I quite like that. The front grille is really intricate and either side you've got headlights which give it a really strong face. Around the back things are a little bit more straightforward, but I like that you get some silver accents that help brighten up this car, particularly this one in its dark silver colour. The Volvo's exterior design continues to have that kind of classless appeal that ensures that it looks in place wherever it goes, be that on the school run, parking outside a nice restaurant, or driving through the middle of town. Also, it hasn't been changed too much when it was first announced, so there's not too much of a trade-off if you're looking to buy a used version because, well, for most purposes, it looks exactly the same. The Discovery's design has definitely aged and sharpened over time. This one has a more dynamic headlight design, while around the back you still get that off-centre number plate design, which has, well, caught a lot of people off guard and proved quite contentious over the years. However, one of the biggest problems with the Discovery is the Defender, because it's offering the similar level of practicality and space, but with, well, to my eyes at least, far more imposing looks. I like the Discovery's more understated design, but if you're wanting overall impact, then it still feels like the Defender is the one to go for. Okay, so the Hyundai can't offer the same level of high-end finish that you get from either the Volvo or the Land Rover, but I think it becomes remarkably clear that Hyundai has done very well to put together a nice cabin, which is finished with good materials considering this car starts at just over £40,000. There's some leatherette finish at the side, and this carbon fibre finish that you get here helps to avoid those fingerprints that you get on gloss black plastic, so it looks tidier for longer. Overall, I think the spaciousness is good in here, and I think the overall finish is far higher than you'd expect from a car at this price tag, if that makes sense. Elsewhere in the cabin things are good. The middle seat has plenty of space and a good level of headroom, while at the rear those seats are more occasional, but they're still useful to have. Of course, if you're in the market for a 7-seater, you're going to want 7 seats, and those back seats do offer those occasional use. It does expand the Santa Fe's abilities beyond just a regular 5-seater like the Tucson. With all of the seats in place, you've still got a reasonable amount of room here, and I'd say you could get 2 or 3 soft bags, or at least a decent amount of shopping back there. But expand that further to 571 litres by lowering these rear seats down, and that means you've got a very generous boot space, and one that will suit most families. You can take that further, of course, by lowering the middle seats, in which case the litrage goes well over 1,000. But realistically, you're going to keep it in that 5-seater mode for most of the time, I think. The fundamentals of the XC90's cabin are great. You've got really good materials in here, and it's backed by solid ergonomics, which means that everything is just where you need it. Now, it's funny that when we started looking at the XC90 when it first came out a few years ago, the central screen felt massive, but these days it's actually quite small. But inside it, it's got Android's latest system, which means it's very fast, and all of your key apps like Google Maps are preloaded and they work very swiftly. This car in particular has a crystal gear selector, which does get quite chilly on cold mornings, but if you want to see how some of the other heated elements help to appease that, then you can head over and check our full review of the XC90 on the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel. There's good level of space on offer for all occupants sitting behind the front 2 seats. In the middle row, there's good levels of headroom and legroom, and if you do want to use those rearmost seats, then there's still plenty of space for occasional use, but as with most 7-seaters, you have a bit of a trade-off in space there. Even with all the seats in place, you still get 356 litres of boot room, which means that you've got more space than you'd expect from an average hatchback. Lower that middle row and that rises to just over 1,000 litres, which is more than enough space for most occasions, and you'll be able to get bikes and other large items in there with no trouble at all. The interior of the Discovery blends those rugged materials that you want from a chunky off-roader with some nice luxurious finishes. So for instance, we've got some leather on the steering wheel, and we've got this nice textured finish up on the side too, but we've got robust controls that you can use with gloves when it gets chilly. Space for the middle seat passenger is excellent, and actually there's loads of legroom back there. And the rearmost chairs offer a decent amount of space, though it is slightly compromised and could be described as more occasional. I'd say that the seating mechanism for lowering and raising the seats isn't quite as intuitive as that in the XC90 too. In terms of boot space for the Discovery, we're looking at 172 litres when all of the seats are in place, and that increases to 922 litres when you take down that third row. Take down the middle row and give it into its maximum setting, and you get 1,997 litres of storage, which is almost van-like. You're not going to find many bigger boots in this segment. The Hyundai Santa Fe might be a more value-orientated proposition, but that doesn't mean it feels bargain basement from the driving seat. In fact, I actually really like the way the Santa Fe drives. The 1.6 litre hybrid engine that we've got in this car is more than flexible enough for daily driving, and with efficiency of around 44 mpg, I'd say it's pretty much on the money when it comes to fuel economy too. The only thing that lets the side down is a slightly noisy powertrain transmission setup, so that when you step on the gas, you get on and you get quite a lot of noise generated from the engine and gearbox. But if you'd like to find out more about this car, then you can head on over to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, where we've got a full review of it. Against something like the XC90, of course, it's not quite as opulent, but I'd say the refinement is good, and even though we've got a tiny bit of road noise and some of the rainwater you can hear splashing up under the wheel arches, I'd say it's more than quiet enough for families to stay comfortable on long distance journeys. And actually, the slightly heavy steering that we get in this car makes it all feel quite planted and very reassuring underneath you. The XC90 has been one of my favourites in the 7-seater range for a little while now, and the reason being is that the driving experience is so approachable and really user-friendly. Now, the car that we're driving today is the full-fat plug-in hybrid version, which brings around about 450 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 mile an hour time of just over 5 seconds, which is quite quick for a car of this size. But elsewhere, the fundamentals are good. Having said that, I explain in our full video, which you can go over and check out on the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel right now, that this plug-in hybrid version is great if you're doing shorter journeys or if you're doing trips to school or smaller commutes. But if you're sitting on the motorway for long periods of time when you're going to zap through that electric range quite quickly, then you might be better suited to one of the mild hybrid versions, or indeed one of the older diesel versions, which you can now get on the used market. The Discovery offers the high, upright, premium driving experience that you'd expect from a large 7-seater SUV. This one, with the 3-litre turbocharged diesel engine, feels like an absolute peach of the range, because it shows that traditional diesels still have a place, and their place is very much firmly in large SUVs like this one. Why? Well, it offers loads of performance. It should still return around 32.7 mpg combined, and when you fully brim it, you should be getting around 600 miles of range for a full tank. So that long distance ability is firmly correct here. I just think the diesel package still really works in cars like the Discovery. But if you'd like to find out more, then you can check out our full review on the Motors.co.uk website right now. Each one of these cars brings something very different to the 7-seater game. I've been particularly impressed by the Hyundai actually, and I think out of the three, it offers the most value for money, but without forsaking overall quality or versatility actually. The Volvo continues to be a favourite. It's really comfortable inside, and its interior is cleverly packaged, while the tech on board is great too. And finally, we have the Discovery, which, apart from the slightly head-scratching electrical seat setup, has that opulent feel you'd expect from a car like this. In fact, whichever car you opt for here, they're all going to make for an excellent 7-seater. And certainly, whichever family gets to pick any of these cars is in for a treat. But which would you pick? Would you go for the Discovery, the XC90, or the Santa Fe on the end? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video too. And remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new review.